Yappo's Garage, or Garage, how do you say in British English? As promised, I'm gonna give you a summary of what I did. Yeah, you can see what I did to this electro-chopper. I figured the best way is like when I reassemble the whole thing, tell you what experiences I made and what I like, dislike, what kind of improvement I made, and what type of problems I ran into. And I figured that this would be the best way. Okay? And this is especially for Wolf Does Stuff, who is following my M1 CoC Miniseries for quite some time, and he was asking me if I could do a wrap-up or summary in English. Here we are. I have a second camera here. I hope this light doesn't disturb too much, you know, to get everything in the picture. And if that doesn't work, I will use the Handycam, okay? So, I think I'm just gonna start installing some stuff which was not problematic. And while I'm doing this, I'm gonna tell you something about the history of this. So I'm gonna install the reason why I disassembled it. I had an accident, and I got, let's see, I got hit from the left. So this tube, which houses the fork, got bent. So I had to take everything out in order to straighten it out. I couldn't like reform it, so I had to cut it off and weld it on. You can see it in one of those videos. So, yep, where to start? Yes, this is, I'm pretty sure, the first version. I forgot one thing. I did some modifications on that, and some of the parts I stripped and I didn't put in or changed. I don't have anymore, so I might gonna take some footage from older videos just for the comparison. Okay? Okay. So let's start. So I bought this thing about, I would say, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. It has 2,500 Ks on the clock, and I got it for about 2,000 euros with 2 batteries and a 5 amp charger. And buying 2 batteries was one of the best decisions I ever made, because you can always have one in the charger and the other one for riding. The first thing I modified is the indicators, or was the indicators. Oh yeah, hardtail. There's a full suspension out now, which, as far as I heard, doesn't really full suspend. The rear suspension is not very good, as far as I heard. And the suspension on the front fork, I think, is okay. It's quite okay. So the first thing I did was changing the indicators. On the later models, the indicator is LED. On this one was just ordinary light bulbs. So whoever has like one of the early versions, grease, where is the grease? I had some grease here. Ah, there. You can change the light bulb indicators with any LED, which means that the indicator relay is not depending on any load. I will show you later. Oh, by the way, this is all non-scripted, so might be possible that I'm gonna get back on one or the other topic when it pops out of my mind. So that was one thing I had to change immediately because they were just ugly. And this is actually now one of those moments where I have to dig up some old footage. I watched the test run video of Wolf, and he said it's really complicated to get those electric choppers registered in the UK. Here or in Germany, no problem at all. Just get this little insurance plate that we have, like for power-driven bicycles, MOFA we call them. And that's it. And you need to have a car driving license. No inspection, nothing needed. So that's quite easy. Nope. Like this. Let's see how it fits. I'm not sure which way the ball rings are supposed to go, so we just try. So registration in Germany, no big deal. There's one little catch. Maximum speed allowed is 45 kilometers per hour. If you want to go higher, it's going to be a little bit different. You need to have a little motorcycle driving license, which is in Germany also quite easy to get. If you have a car driving license, I think you have to do a theoretical test, maybe some driving hours, so I'm not sure, because here in Africa it doesn't really matter. So here you can't even register, because they don't have, how do they call it? They don't have a class for it. So it's here, they can't even be insured here. Oh, sorry. You cannot even insure it here. But I think that piece of information is not really important for you guys in the UK. Oh yeah, for the first thing, if you buy one of those, check the play on the steering. It tends to be a little bit loose. And you have to take out the top nut, which is kind of a counter, is it called counterweight? Yeah, nut, in order to tighten the bottom one. This is the one responsible for the play. And this on top just keeps it in place. So, another thing, as you can see, originally it comes with a high steering bar. I changed it for a drag bar just for the look. And which brings us to another problem. You really have to tighten those screws. One trick that I figured out, if that doesn't work, you can either put a little piece of metal in it, like a piece of sheet metal or something, so you have more room to play with here, or you take this in a bench press and just like create a little oval. That works too. So what else? I'm just going to give it a quick, just a little tight So, yeah, indicators, no problem. I had a video on that, and I also have another video where I explain the different types of indicators and indicator relays. Some models don't have an emergency, how do you call it, emergency blink light. Oh, let's see how. Okay, this is the left one, which is not. Das kann ja gar nicht der linke sein. Let's see, let's see. Ah, no, this is the right one. So taking apart this piece is actually not a big deal. Okay. Why did I buy it? I don't know. Let's put it this way. I had some money to spend and was looking for some fun. That was the only reason I bought it. And I got to know about this bike from another YouTube channel, which is devoted to electric mobility. And I have to say, it's a pretty reliable, decent daily rider. And I like it. I like it a lot. I just wished I would never have started working on it. So I'm just tightening all the screws just temporarily to be able to do some minor adjustments. So, oh, I'm not sure how long if this is only going to be one video or like 2 videos. Because I was still waiting for some parts. And since I was talking about the drag bar, steering bar, I mean, right, give me a second. As you can see, the hoses for the brake system, they're going to be way too long. Oh, let me switch. So you will have 2 choices. Somehow make a weird bend with all the hoses, or just as I did now, finally, order hoses. There's a company in Germany who does a really good job about it. It's called ProBrake. And we'll put a link into the video description, and then you can try them out. But I'm pretty sure in the UK they will have companies which are just as good. Mentioning companies. The first 1 or 2 years, let's say the first 1.5 years, it was really hard to get spare parts. Especially the rear tire was wobbling. And it took me quite a while to convince the dealer to get me a spare tire, which I had to pay. I didn't get it on warranty because it was so hard. It's an odd dimension. And nowadays, it's easy. So here the front tire is a usual scooter tire, no big deal. The rear tire, that used to be a problem. And yep. I'm going to put a link of that company into the description too. It's called ATH, and they have everything. I got the spare tanks. I got the electrical stuff, everything. Not everything is on the homepage, so you might have to send them an email in order to get what you want, to ask. And Yeah, and then there's like this Brexit thing. I don't know about customs and all that stuff, but there might be a dealer in England who is just as good. So, what do I want to do now? The fork is in, the greasy part is over. It's gonna be, I can push it back. The wheel is not in. Another thing I really don't like about this, or which is like worth changing, the screws. Especially the tiny little screws. They're not good. They're not well made. Change them for stainless or at least for galvanized. So this is what I want to accomplish today. Getting the electric back in. And in a former video, in a series, that's actually why I started the whole series. I had like an electrical problem, which was an oxidized connection. And that's how it all started out. And the wolf, I'm going to refer to him as the wolf, gave me a hint telling me, you know what? Grease all the plugs. Yeah, I was way past that. So I was already in the phase of getting rid of all the plugs. And you see, good that I didn't take everything out. So I removed all the plugs and soldered all the connections. The only plug which is left is the one for the controller, the two plugs for the controller and the one for the emergency brake, because I had to replace that because I was under the odd impression that the acceleration was faulty. And that gave me some real nice, bright information to discover. Okay. So, this is gonna be, that's the only downside on soldering everything. Let's see. The controller has to be on first. Let's see what we have here. Just gonna use some screws temporarily, just to keep things in place for the time being. Yeah, because that's one of the bad things I discovered about this thing is like water. This fake tank is not waterproof. And I tried several ways to waterproof it. That kind of worked, but this thing is not really meant to be driven in rainy conditions. Seriously. So it's relatively waterproof, the tank, but here the battery compartment, but I get to that later when we get to the bottom. So my goal today is like reinstall all the electrics and organize the wiring a little bit. Wiring is actually a mess. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It is a mess. As you see here, even with my improvements, it's still a mess. Nee, das ist nicht gut. That's not good. So I also did a paint job on this one. I think it's about the 4th one now. And if you want to paint the gauges and the headlight, have fun preparing it. That's not an easy task, because the chrome on the headlight, that's actually pretty good. There is brass beneath it, and you have to do a pretty good sanding job to get that well prepared for painting. So one thing I also did, I did increase the speed. I think, did I mention it before? Yeah, this one runs on the, what's the capacity of the battery? 40 amp hours, 45 amp hours? It runs up to 65. So, and that actually puts some stress on the battery cables, the connection to the actual battery. And I had this in this video, in this series too. I had to change the connectors on the battery and the actual battery cable, I think 4 times already now. Quite a lot, quite a lot. Da muss aber noch eine Unterlegscheibe drunter. Oh, if I sometimes fall back into German, you have to excuse me. It sometimes happens. Washer, 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 where are the washers? Really? Really? Come on, there must be one more. There must be one more like this. Where are you? Nowhere to be found? Okay, then it must be without washers. Obviously, there haven't been any washers before. It looks pretty good. I think I can put in the other leg of the fork to give it a little balance. And I think that will be also a good moment to show you some modification, because the Wolf also mentioned that the, let's call it the spread of the light, is due to a lack of a chance to adjust it. I don't know which term he used. I think he said it sucks. So what I did, and this is now time for my handy cam. I just extended the action. I think it's better from here. Wrong camera mode. You see, always check it. I just put some screws in here to get the mount of the headlight a little bit away from the fork, and then you can adjust it better. Then you can actually take full advantage of the long hole here at the bottom. Oops. Okay. So put some screws in there with a counter nut, get it off the fork about 1 centimeter, and then you can actually bring the spot up so it increases the distance it's going to shine through. Through? Yeah, you know what I mean. Have a good one. Oh, by the way, if you want to get it out, it doesn't get out. This is the relay for the indicator. And that was one of the reasons I had a loose contact in this whole thing, which I figured out at the very end of everything. Because the contacts within the plugs or within the socket tends to get loose. So I think now it's better to take the headlight down in order to reach the 2 screws for the gauges. Oh, was ist los? Ah. Is it there? Nope. It's not the one. That's the one. What's wrong with this one? Hero 10, getting too hot. Okay, let's cool it down. That's good enough. We leave it like this for a while to cool it down. There's nothing interesting from behind now. So if I don't have anything interesting to tell, I just will speed it up. So this screw is giving me a little bit of trouble here. So I'm gonna try a different one. Yep. You see, this is where the screw quality comes into play. Ah, that one is much better. So, let's put back the headlight. And then we're going to continue with the electric installation. So right now, since everything is soldered, I don't have any problems with the electricity. Oh, I can give you a little tip for working on this thing to prevent the fork from tilting from left to right. Let me just finish here the headlight. So once the electric is actually in place, the rest is actually a piece of cake. So let me make sure it's like same distance. You just need to offset the headlight about a centimeter, and then it's just fine to get the light beam into the distance. That should be about right. Still have to do the final minor adjustments when I'm actually running it. You see, now there's enough play to actually adjust it. Now I can bring it up. Before I was actually hitting the mount of the gauges. And that's not what I like. I want to see in the distance, at least a little bit. Oh wait, the trick. Here, take a baggage strap, roll it twice or 3 times around the main tube. Once around here. Once around here. And you have the fork stabilized in order to work on it without scratching anything. Okay. There are not actually many tools you need. So I think most of the stuff you get done with 2 Allen keys and about 2 or 3 wrenches and a cross screwdriver. Phillips, I think you call it Phillips screwdriver. Okay, so let's organize that a little bit. That needs to go through here too. Let's hope I did. Oh no, this is gonna go here. That's one thing I changed too. The indicator, horn and light switch. And the reason was, oh yeah, that on the original one, I don't know how it's on later models, on the original one there was no clear catch in the middle, you know, the indicator switch didn't stick in the middle. So I bought this one on eBay. That's a motorcycle multi-switch, I guess they call it. Downside is, usually on a motorcycle, you turn the how do you call it? The off beam, on beam, like short, long distance, you turn that on with the ignition switch. That doesn't work here, so I had to add another extra switch. I'll put a link in the description. And I will show the old switch on another video I did. Okay, but first I'm going to put that on to keep that from falling off. And this switch actually simulates or is the replacement for the non-existing switch in the ignition on-off switch of the electric chopper. So that's the compromise I had to go for. But I really wanted a switch which has a clear, how should I call it, feeling of being in the center, if you know what I mean. And the indication in the display, that wasn't enough for me. And here on Wolf's video, you can see from the driver's side view, his right indicator is always on most of the rides. I think I have to turn down the fan a little bit. Makes a bit of noise. And maybe this one can be started again. I set down the rail. I don't get it why people want to film in 4K all the time. Oh, back online. So this will need an Allen key, a small one. A small Allen key. I use a hex. And hex and Allen, yeah, fit. They're the same. They fit. A hex key fits in every Allen screw of the same dimension. So the only thing is you have to ring all the wires to figure out all the connections in the old and the new one, which is, it's not rocket science. It's actually fairly easy. And then disconnect the old one and solder the new one on. Also, not even close to rocket science. So now it's like this with a switch. I turn, we call that the parking light on with the ignition switch, off-on switch. With this one, I turn the running light on, and if I use the other option, it's going to be like for distance. Okay? So everything is going. Was it up or was it down? No, I think I turned it around. So that was fairly easy and a huge improvement, because now you can concentrate on the traffic and then don't have to check the gauges all the time to actually verify that the indicator is on or off. Was it on top or was it on the bottom? I don't know. What do you think? Ah, come on, we leave it on top. It makes the wires run smoother. We can still change it. That's just a question of taste. And I also discovered, like in my process before, while doing this series, the wires, let's put it this way, they could have better quality. They're not like the best quality on the market. So where is the plug? Oh no, that's another one. So the wires from the, especially the wires from this multi-switch, they were broken. That was another reason why it didn't really work. So let me see if I can sort up some of this stuff here. Another thing I discovered, see, this one is longer, it goes here to the right. Those are the brake light switches. You know, they are connected here to the brakes, of course. And when I got this chopper the first time, I got the information that only the rear brake is activating the recuperation. Recuperation, is it called this? Like this? Yeah, recuperation, yes. Nope, it's both. No matter which brake you barely touch to recuperate, it's going to initiate the recuperation. So as soon as the brake light, this little circle with the two half circles around it, comes up, it will recuperate. Which means it will feed back energy from the motor within the wheel into the battery. So if you're on in a hilly situation, on your way down, roll down and engage the brake a little bit. Let's see if that works here. If I get that around here, do I want it like this? Do I get it through here? Nah, you see? I think I have to take the headlight off again in order to get the acceleration. Yeah, this is how it is. Sometimes you do have to do it twice. don't have to take it off completely. Let's see. Because I want to get this cable. I can just go like this. Oh, like this is cool. It's okay like this. Because if I hate one thing, it's like cable chaos. I don't like it. And the wiring here on this one is, you could call it a mess. So, but I mean, this is what you get for the price. I mean, it's like 2,000 euros for an actually full-size, kind of full-sized motorcycle, you know. Okay, this is the one for the recuperation and the brake. That one goes in here. This is the horn, which can be put on here too. And now we actually almost have it. Almost. So. And then the electrics are almost done. This is the cable here for the, it's the, how you call it? Parking post switch and all the indicators, brake lights for the rear fender. Yep, I'm getting pretty far. Actually much further than I expected. I think it's time to reposition the light a little bit. Maybe. Or a bit higher. I hope the photo light does anything. So, I mean, you can see there's not much of wiring left. Not really much. I also added, whoops, oh, yeah, careful. Added USB port because I don't like cell phone mounts on a motorcycle, and I think you should not listen to music with earphones or plugs while being in traffic. It's, I mean, your attention is somewhere else. Let's put it this way. Distraction is the word, I guess. It distracts you from paying attention to the traffic. So, since I'm actually pretty close to put on the brakes, the handlebars, the brake levers, we can come to brake issues. 2,600 kilometers, the brake pads. I don't see any wear on the brake pads. Let's put it this way. Bleeding the brakes is kind of a pain in the ass. So that requires some patience. Okay, So I was at the USB port, which I haven't installed yet. Where is my USB port? And other cables. This is the cable for the, I'm going to switch back topics, front and back. It's just the way it is. This is the cable that goes to the motor. Usually it's in one piece, and I figured I don't like it. So I put this MC4 plugs, I think they're called, from solar panels in order, if I have to work on the rear tire, I have to, for any reason, I have to take it out or whatever. Who knows? I don't want to pull everything out. I just want to release some, disconnect some plugs from some sockets, and that's going to be the whole thing. I didn't want to do more. And so far it worked out quite well. One thing I have to mention is don't get fooled by the watts. This is a 3000 watt motor. And some people ask me in the comment section, oh yeah, why didn't you use a regular 230 volt plug to connect this? It can take a lot of load. On the load, the watts, that's the important thing. The thing is, 3000 watts on 230 volts equals, let's say, I'll write it down. You will see it underneath. I can't do it now. You have to divide the 3000 watts by 230. So it's 6 amps and something. If you do that with 60 volts, you get a little bit more amps. And then, if you use a 230 volt plug or socket, as you would do it, for example, on a toaster or wherever, it's going to melt the socket. 100%. It is going to melt. So how do I connect those from the bottom? Probably from the bottom. Yeah. So connecting the wires for the motor is no big deal. They're all labeled with colors. That's an easy deal. The screws for the electrical connections suck deeply. But right now I don't have any others. So forget the Phillips screw connection, always use a wrench for that. You can use the screwdriver only to like catch on the thread. If you go a little bit more, they will strip the head, the cross, if you know what I mean. The controller itself seems to be watertight. I haven't seen any venting openings or anything, so that's no problem if it comes to water resistance. The only thing that really presents a problem for me, because here in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, not too far from the equator, it's quite humid, that the connections, they rust, and the plugs are not watertight. And the sockets, of course. So, was haben wir denn sonst noch? Oh, that little baby. I have to loosen that again. Oh, do I? Maybe I can slip it through here. Yep. And through here. better. Much better. Du, 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 du. And you can see on those screws here, I mean, there is some humidity in play. I will change them later into stainless too, but they are kind of hard to get here, the stainless screws and nuts. And by the way, if you have any questions, because I might have forgotten something, because I don't have any script on this one here, put it in the comments or suggestions. No big deal. I'm always looking for new ideas, and if you don't listen to other people, you don't learn shit, right? Okay. So since we're about to slide all the cables through, despite the fact that I actually wanted to install the battery cable, oh, that's, you see, this little bastard here is the connector for the charging plate. I mean, look at the thickness of this cable. There's not much amps running through it. That's why it takes about 5 to 6 hours to charge it. It charges with quite a low amps. And this is one of the friends I changed now for the, I don't know. I actually stopped counting. I think that's the 5th or 6th cable. And that's also a problem of the amps. You know, you will start with, it's plus and minus. Why isn't minus and positive not marked? Is it? It's not. Ah. Positive is up, because there's a red button, a red sticker on it. Where was I? Where is the connector for the... I need 3 red ones. Where's the 3rd red one? Because this is going to be the... Ah, here, my USB port. Oh, I'm mixing up topics here, sorry. Okay, I clocked this one up. I think I told you before. It's running up to 65 now. Which means, automatically, the lower the voltage, as I explained before, the higher the amps. And I think that this whole thing, the plugs and the sockets on the battery or the battery cable are not meant to withstand a certain load, of course. But unfortunately, the load they estimated to run that on a specific voltage is just calculated too low, in my personal experience. Does it make any sense, what I'm saying now? So I recommend, don't drain the battery completely, number 1. And number 2, if you clock it up so it runs like 60 something, do it for short sprints. And if the battery goes, let's say, beneath, this is just a guess, I would say 58, 59, a little bit below 60. You know, then you have 6 volts to play with. And then you have to keep it down a little bit. You know, give people time to recognize you and see the cool ride. if that helps. Because then you can make sure that there's not overcurrent going through the connection between the battery and the the connection to the battery. Okay, that went better than I actually thought. So what? Here's my USB port. Let me get a little bit closer. You get it also on eBay. It's 2 USB with a nice little switch on it, and it can take a load from, I guess, 9 to 90 volt. So it's suitable for this one. And I connect it directly here at the power source of the battery. And the reason is, you know what? If I park this one, I always disconnect the battery. So even if there's something drawing energy from the battery on this little USB device, because the, let's call it, this, wait, let me just tighten the screw here, if possible. The little transforming device here, this one here behind the horn. I don't know if it consumes energy when the USB port is switched off. Nah. Pliers, small pliers. Screw is a little bit short. Whip, now it caught. Cool. So another thing you have to keep in mind if you work on the installation, because most of the cables are coming from the left side. Once everything is installed, you think it's good, turn the steering wheel completely to the right to make sure there's enough play on the cables. That's the reason why I'm not going to put the spiral hoses on now, because I still need to install the brake hoses, which I don't have yet. But I want to install the handles in order to put the switches on. Where's the other one actually? Here. To get rid of all the loose cables. Okay? So in order to do that, let's see. Let's take the front one first. So if you take a look, where is it going to be? It's going to be here. No. This is where the brake is going to be. Is it going to be like this? That looks weird. Oh, yeah. Just put the screws on the wrong way. In the wrong way. No, it has to be like this. Huh? Like this. No, but like this. Okay. I'm confused now. Ah, no, here. I was confused by the connection because I disconnected it in order to get it out of the fork. It's like this. Okay, I will drain the D4. This is the brake fluid, which is recommended. And it's also written here on the top of the brake. Tells you use what is it? .3 or .4. That's the recommended brake fluid. And since I don't want to buy brake fluid all the time, I'm just gonna drain it. And then I'm gonna go through the pane of, what kind of, was it 13? No, it was 12. Pain of bleeding the ones. And as I said before, this is a process I don't really like. I did it like 2 or 3 times already now. And hopefully this time it's going to be the last time. Oh, there's no fluid going out. And be careful with the brake fluid, it messes up the paint really fast. Shall I take it out to avoid? Because now it doesn't go out. You know what? I'm just going to use some tape in order to keep it in. Because eventually it will go through the hollow screw. Nah, I'm going to take it out. Nah. Because I'm pretty sure I'm accidentally going to press the level. Then it will mess me up. Okay, screws, because there's a vacuum. I had a problem with one of those brake levers. It was on the left-hand side, which is my front brake. I switched it because of my bicycles and every two-wheeler I have, my bicycle, my cargo bike, my other electro scooter. They all have the front brake on the left. And one time I had a little accident. You know what? I can punch in the video of that. And that's why I switched it. And I had a little problem with that. And that's how I actually figured out that the recuperation is on both brakes. So in a comment, sorry if I don't look into the camera, but I have to focus on this too. The question came up, all of a sudden there's no acceleration. And that has to do with those brake light recuperation switches. Those littles here. If they're not pressed, you can't accelerate. You're actually braking or recuperating, charging the battery via the motor. Okay? So, and this level, it didn't get back. It didn't went back completely. It was like kind of loose. So it didn't press the bottom here. And that's why I had those problems. And I figured that out while I was fixing another problem. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. And while doing that, I learned that the recuperation is like on both brakes. It's not one. And if you use it wisely, you can get some extra miles out of it, or Ks. Oh yeah. So I expect the new brake hoses in about a week. So I always put the brake levers so that the end of the ball is actually the end of the handlebar, kind of. So the adjustments have to be done later. Just gonna give it a quick, so it's not too loose. Not too loose, 'cause I want to install the thing here. It's just one little screw. And then I will show you with my handycam, because I constantly keep blocking this one here, what I mean by that. Oh, where's the screw? Handycam. Can you see it? If this lever doesn't go back completely, it doesn't press the button. And if this button is not pressed, you're not in acceleration mode, you're in recuperation or brake mode. That's the simple story, and that works for both sides. And I took the brake handlebar, the brake handle apart, I think at least 2 times, no result. I have no idea what was wrong with it. So let's take that one off too. Maybe there's gonna be some brake fluid in that. Not gonna waste it. Gone. Not needed anymore. So let's put this one on also temporarily. Another problem, shall I call it problem, was that that was mentioned in some comments also, that maybe I can show you here. Oh yeah, here you can see it. There's a little bit rust on it. The brake pads were constantly grinding. Not really the brake pad. Let's say the saddle was grinding. And the only thing I can recommend, because there's no way to adjust the saddle, and of course on a disc brake, the brake pads, they have to be as close as possible to the actual disc. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. If the here you can see it, handycam, because I'm not going to take it off again. You see that mark here? That was where the disc was actually grinding on the mount. So you can either use a washer to maximize the distance, or you have to take the saddle off and file some material off to get it away from the disc. That's what I did, and after that it's all fine and silent. Oops. Where is the rear brake? I actually got further than I actually wanted. Yeah, but anyways. Maybe we're already in the second part. things you definitely have to renew once you're working on the brake system is those little washers here, which actually seal the whole thing. Right, let's drain the hose first. Huh? Smaller nut on the rear brake? What is that? Don't recall that. That's a 10 millimeter. Okay, there we go. Ah, that was so clear. Still enough left. So the rear brake is going to be on the rear tire. So we don't need that yet. Let's drain that one. Wow. Now this one drains itself or what? So I guess once I put this one on, this is going to be the end of part 1, because I think we're already in the 1 hour 20 minute range, and that should be it for today. Just going to put this one on, and I guess we see in the next part. Is that okay for you guys? I mean, there's already enough to digest, I would say. Wo ist denn hier der Griff für den Spiegel, die Schraube? Ach so, da. And there's not much I can do without having the other parts. But I can tell you something about the acceleration. The acceleration is not like a resistor or something. I explained that in the series also. It kind of works with induction magnetic stuff. So I think it's highly, highly unlikely, probably almost impossible, that the acceleration grip or bar is responsible for not being able to accelerate. Unless it's physically broken. I think most of the time, if the acceleration interrupts, it has to do with those little brake switches, which activate the recuperation and the brake function, even if the brakes are not engaged, if you know what I mean. So pay attention to those little buttons here. They have to be pressed in order to accelerate. There's nothing mechanically except that the lever doesn't go back completely. Ah, okay. Now I see. Na, wo ist er denn jetzt? Da. Oh, a different handle on it. You see? That's the new one I ordered, and that's the old one. The handle is a different one. Maybe I change it, just to give it the same look. Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice. Where is the screw? Screw from the hose. It's here. Here's a knob and there's no knob. No, I don't like it. I have to change it. So I'm not sure if it's going to be like all finished in the next part or if I'm going to do like a third part on it. But as promised, it will be English. So that's enough for today. For one video, 1 hour 20 minutes with some interruptions. Digest. Next time we continue.